So the concept of the church was not very important, but then for us it is good to know what actually the church means. The word church comes from Kyriakos, the church. Church, the CH is here, Kyriakos, church, CH. This is the word. It is not ecclesia. The Latin, or let us say, no, the Latin, the Greek form, a Greek word for church is ecclesia. Ecclesia, the Latin form of it is CC. So this is the relationship. Church is not directly coming from Kyriakos. What is the meaning of Kyriakos? Of the Lord, or belonging to the Lord. From this word came also the German word for church. German word is Kirche. So the key is here, CH is here. The consonants are the way which indicates the development of etymological progress. So, what is the meaning of ecclesia? Ek comes from two words. Ek kaleo. You have learned in Greek already. What is the meaning of kaleo? To call. Ek means X. From call out, God calls out, people called out. So people called out for a purpose. This is an ecclesia. And what is the meaning of that? For what do they come together? For the purpose of discussing community affairs and the public discussion. So it was a secular reality. Ecclesia is a secular reality. People called out for common purpose, and that is taken in the Latin word ecclesia. And the church, this word ecclesia is the original. This is the Greek translation of the Hebrew term. Hebrew term is there behind it. That is Kahal Yahweh. So the Kahal Yahweh is the people gathering together. And so that is translated when the Septuagint was written into ecclesia, called out. And that is now we have here ecclesia. So church and ecclesia we give the same meaning, but they both are from two different roots. The meaning is the same. The Hebrew meaning, people coming together, people called together for common purpose, public reasons. The development in the Bible also is in these terms. People called together for the purpose of worshipping together, and the community which emerges out of this comes to be called ecclesia. So this is the development of the term, just if you want to know what the term means. I have given that in the notes, different places, you can have that afterwards. And this kind of ecclesia or a group of people is associated with the Messiah. Messiah is the one who brings salvation. The promise is being fulfilled through him. And he has a community, messianic followers. Through them, the things take place. So the concept of messianic community is important in the Bible, in the history of salvation. And the people coming together, the Kahal Yahweh is basically this group of people, messianic people. So today the church means the messianic people, the people through whom the Messiah continues or works out salvation of the world. Yes. So there is a very intimate link between the church as ecclesia, people called together, and the one calling together, Yahweh or the Messiah. Messiah has the people called together, and Jesus is cannot be imagined as unrelated to the church, but then the easy answers are not valid today. So then in what sense was Jesus related to the church according to the biblical understanding? There is also a passage where Jesus says, I am only for the house of Israel, and yes, so then he also says, don't go to the Samaritans. When he says that, it means he is leaving out the Samaritans and the others from his concept of responsibility. Then that some Syrophoenician woman, he says, should not give the food of children to the dogs. He even humiliates in that way. I mean, I did not know that Jesus really said that. Jesus humiliating a woman is something difficult to imagine. But still, let us say, the thing is, these were out, some group of people were out. So, the relationship between Jesus and the kingdom, or let us say the ecclesia, is not so direct. How is it? At the time of Jesus, the faith or the understanding of the people was this, that the Israelites are the means of salvation for the people. And there's also, we saw in the Bible, people wondering at the Israelite, what a wise people they are. And we shall also be, it creates a desire among them to be like them. And by being like the Israelites who live on milk and honey, others also will also enjoy the same status of milk and honey. Milk and honey means, this is simple metaphor, the food of gods, milk and honey. So they become like gods, or they eat the food of gods, that they become really raised up, brought up in the strength and power of God, fullness of life. In short, fullness of life in our orderly understanding. So a life of fullness, a life of salvation, that was for the mind of Jesus through Israel. And that is why he restricted his ministry to the Israelites and they refused to allow the disciples to go to the Gentiles. But then when the Israelites refused to collaborate with God's plan, then the disciples turned. The Christians are already there following Jesus, the disciples. They turned to the Gentiles. In the beginning, they were part of the Jewish group. The Christian followers of Jesus were Jews, Jewish Christians. Later on, problem came among them. Should everybody be made Jews in order to be Christian? So first Jew, that is a circumcision, then Christianity. That was a big bone of contention. And on the basis of that, the Jerusalem Council made a decision where the Jewishness was not central, but the salvation of God was for all the people. And so Jesus and his disciples turned to the Gentiles because the Israelites refused to cooperate with the plan of salvation, the Messianic, refused to be the Messianic people collaborating with Jesus. So that is how the church and Jesus and the kingdom of God is related to one another. Then in the process I spoke about contrast society. The salvation takes place by means of a contrast society. How is contrast society related to the new understanding that we now have? As I said, in the contrast society, it is not some little consolation given to the people, some little satisfaction for their, some little charity. Charity is not being, actually charity is also attempted in the whole story of the Old Testament story, where the princess of the Pharaoh's daughter comes to take bath and sees the child there, the thing, then he takes care of the child and brings him up in the royal palace. That can be understood as one effort of helping the people, charity. Earlier, then before there is another attempt, afterwards, there is another attempt being made. Moses, when he becomes grown up, he knows the whole story from his own mother, and he has attachment to his people, and he is critical and he is angry with the oppressors, the Egyptian oppressors, and at one time he gets into a quarrel and gives a beating, and the man dies. So violence as a means of salvation is also tried. So charity work is tried, the whole process. So I am saying the whole story of the Egyptian salvation from Egypt contains so many different elements which we can interpret in our way to indicate the unsatisfactory ways of salvation. So charity is not a way of salvation. The princess tried, that did not work. Violence is not a way of salvation. Moses tried and it was given up. So, but then how did the other people react to the milk and honey situation of the Egyptians? With wonder. We are a wise people. So salvation comes actually by means of establishing a contrast society which gives suggestions and which enlightens the people about life of equality and justice. And when the people see that, they would like to turn. In that way, salvation will flow to the rest of the world. So salvation and change of structures for living in freedom and equality and justice, all this will take place not through charity, not through violence, but through imitation of the model. So today the church is supposed to be means of salvation, and then it means that church is supposed to be a contrast society. The church that we now are, we are supposed to be a contrast society. You see the importance. We, the people who believe in Jesus the Savior, and we are now the messianic people working with Jesus. Our life should be a life which is in contrast with the rest of the world. Is our life a life of contrast to the rest of the world, or are we just like anybody else? Do you find the different Christians live? Greater equality, greater justice, greater peace and love. Do you see that? We have got worst inequality of the caste system. We have got the worst suffering of the poorest. Most of our members are coming from the poorest families, poorest life situations. Education, low. Health, low standard. Everything is low. In what way are we a contrast society? That is the challenge. We are supposed to be a contrast society. Now we have to ask ourselves, are we becoming a contrast society? Are we functioning like a contrast society, attracting the rest of the world towards the transformation which we have undergone? It looks like we have not undergone any transformation. It looks like we are worse. And then what is the meaning of the church? We have to ask the question of the meaning of the church. And we have to re-examine ourselves and restructure our life. That is the consequence of this understanding of God's plan. And we can forget that, and we have been forgetting it very conveniently all these past years, and we are just reflecting the worst side of the society of injustice and inequality. Do we have a self-criticism here? There is a self-criticism. Do we take up the self-criticism and try to change? Well, that is a challenge before us. We are not simply a people who conducts a religion. have Sunday Mass and some kind of rituals and some kind of rules and regulations. So we Christians go to the temple, church, others go to the temple, the Muslims go to their mosque. Things are the same, different religions. We go to another temple. We are not supposed to be simply a religion of this kind of religious practices. We are supposed to be a contrast society and challenging others to move towards fullness of salvation. So, an image of the church, so a new understanding of an image of the church should inspire us, we people, to explain the raison d'etre of the church. The reason for being is the English word being used, it's a French word, but it is used very much, raison d'etre. Explain the raison d'etre of the church. It indicates the goal towards which the church is moving. It corresponds to the faith experience of the individual members as well as of a community. The image of the church which I just now described, the church as a contrast society. It clarifies the relationship between the church to which we belong and the world in which we live today. The church acts as a guiding star and yet not out of reach, so that it can give us a clear mandate for action. So if you understand the church in the way I said, these are the consequences. In the past, this understanding was not there. On the contrary, in the beginning, very beginning, it was there. Early church. We are speaking, when we speak about in the past, we are referring to the Middle Ages, or let us say the time from Constantine to the 19th century. The way of thinking had completely changed from the original understanding with the coming of Constantine. The people were poor until Constantine. From the time of Constantine, the whole thing changed. Church and the Christians became rich and powerful, and everybody became Christian in Europe. So they speak of false Christianity, false Christendom. It's a German expression, false Christendom. Folk means people, Christendom means Christianity. So whole people became Christian. There are no non-Christians in Europe. Originally speaking, they were not there. When whole people became Christians, where is the contrast? All people are Christians. To what? To whom are you contrasting? The European church became, without contrast, they changed everything into kind of religion, following of the Ten Commandments and all the other dogmas and legal prescriptions of the church, and following so many rituals and all that. So living like a holy people, trying to think of their salvation. And church was understood as a means of salvation of one's soul. And religious life was interpreted as life of people who save their soul, save their perfect life. You have heard, I suppose, people's preaching, perfect life. So we live perfect life so that I may be like the Father. There was a talk of contrast society. It was not there. So we are now discovering the whole purpose by going back to the Bible and trying to renew. The church is to be renewed, and that is what was supposed to take place with Vatican II. Going back to the sources, going back to Jesus, going back to the times of the gospel, and the way that the church developed, so that we can today get out of the particular situation of the Western church. But instead of that, Western church sent missionaries and we become like the Western church. Western church sent missionaries and they converted us, baptized us according to their understanding of the church, where no contrast society was there. There was no contrast society, and then they did not think of creating contrast society in India. They wanted only people to follow some rituals and pious practices and so on, and they thought their souls will go to heaven. That was the idea. We are now in this way far away from the ideal, from the goal of the church. the goal of the church to be a contrast society is still far away from us. And here it is the challenge that we have to recognize this. Today we can be a contrast society in India. In Europe, the chance is gone almost. Now people are turning away from church and religion. Church has no use, church is no good. Jesus, yes, but church, no. That is a statement, the way of thinking of the people there. And here we have we can develop a new understanding of the church, but then up to now, our people do not seem to be interested in this. We are interested in also saving the souls individually. There is no individual salvation as the center of attention of the divine, center of attention of Jesus. It was not the individual salvation, it was the salvation of the community. We have gone away from that. We think of individual salvation. Right? We are doing all the pious activities and so forth. So a thorough change in the church, a thorough change in the thinking of the church has to take place. A thinking which is faithful to the Bible. A thinking which is faithful to the Old Testament people. A thinking which is faithful to the history of salvation in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. That's starting with the Jesus and the community and so on, which will be a contrast society. So the task that we have now is to become a contrast society, since we now know theologically the purpose of the church, the way of working of the Lord. Not merely what the missionaries preached. Missionaries preached and went something, and that has now created a kind of religion in India. And this religion, of course, church is also a religion. We cannot contradict that. This religion is interested in one's own self, self-centered. Religion is for one's own escape. As I told you about the trapeze artist being supported by the... So religion is meant for that. We have become a religion. That actually is a going back of the church from its original intention. So the new alternative, new understanding that we now have based on the Bible should energize the faithful communities through its promise that there are ways of living Christian community different from the contemporary society, or what our contemporary society offers. It has become commonplace to declare that the church today is sick and needs attention. Pathogenic, as Leonardo Boff says. Pathogeny means sickness. Church is sick. And is it good that we don't recognize that the church is sick? Is it good, or is it better to say church is not sick? Which is better? If the church is really sick, should we accept that and work on it? Surely we must work on that. If a man has got COVID-19, is it good to say, no, everything is all right, and allow him to go pass on, and then finally is finished, or is it not better that he recognize I have got COVID-19? Therefore, I must take care. I must do what is required by the government officials and experts, and go, if needed, go to the hospital. Otherwise, remain at home and then keep all the protocols of COVID protocols and try to live. This is what is important. We have to recognize ourselves, our reality. Self-criticism comes here. The ecclesiology is a self-critical science for this. We need to know this so that we can be really referring to the plan of God with greater honesty and sincerity in our life. So, in this way, who instituted the church? Did Jesus institute the church? The answer is a no. But then, institution can mean in different ways. Institution can have different sense, and there is institution, there is foundation, and there are different opinions among the Catholics. Among the Protestants, they are very easy in their answers, easy answers. Christ did not want to institute the church. Finish. And it came up. It is a human discovery. And so it has to be given so much value. So association, and everybody makes association, then begins big preaching, and each one establishes the church of his own interest and his own shape, and so on. Church is not given importance. Catholic theologians, they interpret the Bible exegetically with equal or more study and attention, and they have come to different conclusions. They say that Jesus Christ did not establish the church as a legal event. Institution of the church with the Pope on the top and cardinals and bishops and so on, Jesus did not do that. The whole structure of the church developed slowly. Jesus did not establish that. If we mean by establishment of the church by Jesus, foundation of the church by Jesus, if we mean this, then Jesus did not establish. If we mean that the whole purpose and intent of the church is that of Jesus, the whole inspiration, the whole orientation is that of Jesus, salvation of the world, and challenging the society to be different. The whole movement of the church goes back to the inspiration of Jesus. During his lifetime, he tried to gather disciples, he has to gather the Israel. The 12 apostles are a metaphorical indication of that. So the church being gathered as the regathering of the people of Israel, and Israel's function being reintroduced in the church. St. Paul speaks of just being inserted into the old wood of the Israel. You remember the passage? What you call grafting. Church, the new people are grafted into the old stem of the Israel. So foundation of the church is already there. Israelites are really the group of people, and we are now grafted onto that. In that way, there is no foundation of the church by Jesus, but then the whole existence of the church goes back to Jesus. In that sense, Jesus founded the church. Jesus, in one way, Jesus did not, we have to put different words. Jesus did not establish the church, but he founded the church. The theologians use those different terms. We'll come to those expressions and so on in the next.